Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Mohamed Ibrahim. First, I have a couple of announcements. The Forbidden documentary, Occult Louisiana, is available for you to download right now from our website. You can also watch it with a Rokfin premium membership. Just visit forbiddenknowledge.news or rokfin.com/FKN+. A great way to help support Forbidden Knowledge News is by downloading our episodes directly through Spreaker or that website. You can also get a Rokfin premium membership. With that, you get access to all our premium content, the Forbidden documentary, and all the premium content from every creator on Rokfin. Today, I want to welcome back to the show Mohamed Ibrahim. He is an Egyptologist, hieroglyphics expert, tour guide, and director. Inspired by an equally passionate desire to share his wisdom, offers a wide spectrum of knowledge regarding the history, arts, literature, and culture of the ancient Egyptians. He has been working as a tour guide and teacher of hieroglyphics since 2000. His comprehensive knowledge of ancient Egypt, along with his background in comparative religions and spiritual studies, has enabled him to fill lecture halls and conduct a variety of successful tours over the years. When he's not on tour, he frequently lectures on Egyptian mythology, its spiritual aspects in Egyptian art, and the ancient Egyptian concept of gods and goddesses. Mohamed, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm very good. Hi, Chris.
Thank you so much for coming back on. Our conversation last time was fantastic. I can't wait to get into this. We're going to be discussing your new book, Egypt Before the Written History, The Lost Knowledge of Ancient Egypt. This is absolutely one of my favorite topics to discuss, and you've uncovered some incredible information that has been seemingly lost over the centuries, and your insights have explained many of the mysteries of the ancients, and there's plenty more to uncover, but I'm really looking forward to this discussion. Before we get into it, remind the audience a little bit about yourself and what brought you to write the book.
I was born in Memphis. So Saqqara, Dahshur, Memphis, Abu Sir, these sites are considered the territories of my town. So when I was very young, I used to see the pyramids from the window of my room. So I became very interested in these sites. So when I grew up and I had the chance to go to Saqqara and meet the foreigners who are visiting our country, I became so interested to become a tour guide because I saw tour guides leading these groups. So I studied Egypt, but I must admit that to study ancient Egypt as a tour guide, it's a little bit different from studying ancient Egypt as an Egyptologist. As an Egyptologist, you will study certain part of ancient Egypt. But as a tour guide, you study everything. Yes, not the same level like an Egyptologist, but you study more. So if you add separate studies, separate readings, then you gain lots of knowledge. So this is what happened with me. I finished the university with very good degree, but I didn't stop reading about ancient Egypt, about Greco-Roman Egypt, about Coptic Islamic Egypt, and modern Egypt. I was lucky to work as a guide with so many famous speakers, many experts in different fields. Chris Dunn, Robert Schoch, Nassim Haramein, Robert Grant, Alan Green, and so many other people. Each one was adding part to my knowledge. I was collecting from every speaker I was working with. And that was the reason why I decided to write my book, because I was working with these great people, but each one of them was paying attention to his part. So we were leading the group, focusing on certain path or certain explanation. So I said, why we don't bring all of them in one book? Why don't put all the information I collected in one book? And it will create bigger picture. So people will understand the pyramid from the engineering perspective, geological perspective, astrology perspective, energy perspective. So that will be very interesting. So this was my main reason to write the book.
Excellent. Well, let's start with a brief synopsis overall of what you've written about in the book.
As I was saying in many occasions, we grow up in Egypt here hearing this phrase, Egypt is the land of 5,000 years of civilization. And after a while, they changed it to be 7,000 years of civilization. So that was our limit, 7,000 years. 7,000 years old, no more, no, not older than this. And by time they started to say, we discovered in Iraq ancient Sumerian, and that is older than the pyramids, older than the ancient Egyptians. To be honest with you, I was jealous. Like, how come? And then they discovered in Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, and they said this is 10,000 BC. So after reading a lot about ancient Egypt, especially that part we call it pre-dynastic, I found that there are so many missing information about it. There are so many gaps in this history. And I found that one of the papyrus called Turin Papyrus, it talks about the existence of a group of rulers of Egypt called the Shimsu Hor. And they give them 36,000 years. So they ruled Egypt for 36,000 years. That is not written in the regular history, although that exists the official, but a very limited scale. So that was my main reason. So I said, okay, let's. And when I met Dr. Robert Schoch and John Anthony West, and they were talking about the existence of the Sphinx before 10,000 or during 9,700 BC, the end of the last ice age. So many reasons told me or made me focus on the prehistoric Egypt. And lately, before I wrote my book, the flint tools were found in Egypt. By the way, you will find that there is a big chapter in my book about the flint tools. I'm talking about Egypt only because some people think I talk about the tools found in France, in Germany, or in Europe generally. In general, no. My main talk is about Egypt. Okay, so we found tools from various eras and very, very old eras in the Egyptian history. So the book is trying to give you detailed idea about the geology of ancient Egypt, about the deep history of ancient Egypt, and about the possibility, okay, I call it now possibility, but when you read the book, it will be fact, the existence of advanced civilizations before 10,500 BC. Because our main idea, when we think about old history, we think of the caveman. All of us, right? When I tell you, what about 200,000 BC? You will immediately recall this picture of the caveman with the big bone, okay, with the lizard skin. No, this was not true. They were advanced people, different civilizations. Yes, there was up and down. There was caveman in between, okay, but there were so many advanced cultures and civilizations for mankind.
Yes, it seems we've had rises and falls of civilizations, cataclysms that have wiped out almost the entire existence of humanity, and we had to rebuild several times over. When we're looking at the particular pre-dynastic civilization that you're focused on, you said 10,500 years or before. How old are we really talking that this advanced civilization existed?
Okay, if I will, I must say it complete, okay, so people can understand, but I will go fast. We found skeletons between the borders of Egypt and Sudan, 62 skeletons, 12,000 BC. We found one skeleton south of Aswan, Wadi Qubaniya, so the first location called Jabal Sahaba, 62 skeletons. By the way, when I say we, it is not we, the Egyptians, it is the community of Egyptologists. Belgium University, okay, Belgium geologist. 62 skeletons, 12,000 BC. One skeleton close to Aswan, 18,000 BC. Another skeleton near Abydos, 35,000 BC. And the last skeleton we have, the oldest one we have, was found near Dandara, 55,000 BC. We didn't find any older skeletons. We may find more in the future. But we found so many flint tools made by smart people, made by Homo sapien sapien. Okay, we have 20,000 BC, 30, 100, 150, 200,000, 500,000 BC, 600,000, 1 million BC, 1,500,000. Yes, you hear me right. 1,500,000. And the surprise is 2,300,000 BC. We have flint tools are dated to 2,300,000 BC. This is a scientific work. This is not my speculation or this. And if you visit the Egyptian museum, but this is not the regular one, it's called the Museum of the Egyptian Civilizations. It's a new museum, was opened last year. You will find the skeleton, the exhibition of the skeleton 35,000 BC with the list of the flint tools and the dates. Okay, so it's
possible that Homo sapiens sapien might have always existed as we are now, just with different states of consciousness and technology and evolution, right?
Look, my own theory now, and I hope the Darwin followers will forgive me. He made the mistake. So the Neanderthal is not the grandfather of the Homo sapiens. No, he is a descender of the Homo sapiens. So we were always at the top, but then when we lost civilization, the curve went down to Neanderthal, and then went up to Homo sapiens, and then down again, and then up, and then down, and then up. So that was the case. So we didn't develop. We were already at the top. We are devolving. Okay, so that is the story.
Yeah. Yes, it's very obvious that because of our interactions with technology and the lack of natural landscapes and being in nature, that we have lost a lot of our consciousness abilities, which I want to get to a little later. But you have explored the possibilities that these pre-dynastic Egyptians could have been a global civilization. They may have had cities and countries around the world that they inhabited, right?
Of course, because when you find a small object, but this object shows high technology, so you can expect everything else, okay? Because who can do this object using machines and using artificial intelligence? By the way, some of these vases and jars are being done or being made by machines operated by other machines. Because when you hold the power tool with your hand as a worker, it gives or it makes certain tool mark. But when this tool was being controlled by another machine or computer program, it gives different radius and different precision. I'll give you a quick example. Okay, if I have good technology, but I am the worker, I am the one who is holding the power tool with my hand, I can create very beautiful statues, very high quality vases, but it will not be symmetrical. Okay, but we found so many symmetrical vases. The right side is a perfect copy from the left side. The height, the width, the loop, the rim, both sides, the oval shape. Okay, so one chance there is one story behind this, that it was made by a computer program. So there was a saw run by a computer program created this.
Wow.
Okay? So,
well, this has to bring us into how advanced were these civilizations. You said that they could be working with artificial intelligence and computers. It must not be the same type of technology that we're used to today. What do you think that they actually were utilizing?
Look, I think they were working in two levels. Okay, the first level is technology. The second level is brain abilities. They had better understanding of physics, chemistry. And I can see this very clear when you go to the unfinished obelisk. Okay, the scoop mark at the unfinished obelisk, it tells us that there is some kind of technology we don't know, by the way, because so many tool marks, we can identify the tool according to the mark. But the scoop mark, this is not understandable. Okay, so they must develop a certain way to cut granite, which is very hard material, as if it was ice cream or cheese. Okay, so I'm not saying they were developed like us. No, this is not fair. They were more developed than us. They had better technology than us.
Now, going back to for a minute to the possibility of this being a global civilization, have you looked much into what has been found in the Americas that could correlate as pre-dynastic artifacts?
Yes, and I'd like to bring to the discussion Göbekli Tepe, okay? Because also people are doing the same mistake. They date the place, or they date the whole story to 10,000 BC. No, that is not correct. What happened in Göbekli Tepe? That there was a structure. Okay, that structure is very old, older than 10,500 BC or 10,000 BC. But some people, they wanted to protect this site, and they did some fortifications, and these fortifications are the 10,000 BC. So it's not the site itself. It is all the work done around the site and was done to protect the site, to support the site. So Göbekli Tepe is older than 10,000 BC. Okay. And then when we talk about, yes, the Mayan civilization and before the Mayan civilization, and also before the Aztec and the Mexican pyramids, and we shall also talk about the Far East, the Chinese pyramids, which we don't know much about them. Okay, when we talk about also Sumeria in Iraq, there are so many similarities. Okay, especially in the style of art, which I don't call it art. It is these symbols were not made as kind of nice carvings or paintings. No, every symbol or every carving is hiding deep meaning, deep knowledge. Okay, like the idea of the cobra on top of the forehead. Okay, that is not a cobra. This is the energy comes out from the third eye. So they are talking about the ability to send information, to communicate, maybe telepathically. Okay, so for sure, this ancient or these ancient civilizations were connected. Like nowadays, some places producing some things like smartphones, and other countries are using it. Some countries producing cars, other countries are using this. Okay, so it is global civilization. So also back in the days, it was the same thing. These ancient civilizations must have been connected in a good way.
Now, you also talk about the difference in building techniques and even technology in the pre-dynastic versus dynastic Egypt. What have you come up in those aspects?
Yes, there is very clear example. And I was telling my wife, Noha, about it 2 days ago. When we talk about Khufu, and if we accept that Khufu is the true builder of the Great Pyramid, then we must understand, or we must find that all the surrounding family, relatives, high officials, they must get the same opportunity. What is the opportunity? The existence of good technology, the existence of great abilities, the builders of the pyramid, the engineers and the professional workers, right? But at the opposite, all the surrounding tombs and structures belong to Dynasty 4, especially the time of King Khufu, don't reflect any of these abilities. Especially his son. There is one of the sons of Khufu. Okay, we found the famous unfinished box in the Egyptian Museum belonged to this son, or it was found in his tomb. So how come the son of the great ruler who built the Great Pyramid he was buried inside unfinished or broken box. That is not accepted, because if the technology and these great abilities existed in one time, okay, it will last for a long time. It will not disappear in 5 years or in 10 years. And it will not be a secret for one person. No, because there are hundreds of thousands of workers. So these techniques must be reflected or repeated in other structures. But we found zero. As if the pyramid was built by a group of people, and after it was finished, they disappeared. They died or disappeared, or as if they never existed. And the same case, the second pyramid, the third pyramid.
Hello, friends. I want to tell you about the incredible benefits of IGF-1. The older we get, the less IGF is produced by our body naturally. When you're born, you have tons of it, and it's why you feel great in your 20s. The great news is that you can replenish it. Just like multivitamins that you take every day, you can supplement the natural IGF levels in your body. You can do that with clinically proven IGF-1 Plus from Neutronics Labs. This is the stuff that helps you regain IGF-1 and feel great. Just spray it into your mouth a couple of times a day and boom. Lean muscle gain, healthy weight loss, more restful sleep, positive energy gain, crystal clear thinking, all of these things. These are the benefits of proper levels of IGF in your system, which naturally you lose over time. Go do the research on your own at neutronicslabs.com. You can get incredible benefits when you put the product on auto ship, and you can cancel anytime. You should try their IGF for at least 3 months to see the positive results. Click the link in the description and use code FKN to save 15%, as well as buy one, get one free with auto ship. Order now at neutronicslabs.com. Now, before we get too far from the construction and building techniques, I'd love to get your insights into the size of the blocks they were using, how they were able to move these and lift them to where they could actually build the Great Pyramid.
Okay. Before we talk about the size, we need to talk about the number.
Okay. All right.
We talk about 2,500,000 blocks. Mm-hmm. That is too much. This is a huge number. 2,500,000 blocks. Like what even if we manage to convince the audience with any theory, the number is still a great challenge. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because when we talk about this number, and if I claim that we can use our modern technology to do this job, the number is going to be a great problem to our technology. Yes, we can cut stones, we can transfer these stones, we can lift the stones, but not this number in a short time. I can tell you without hesitation, maybe I will not need to read any statistics. If we use our modern technology to build a pyramid, something a similar structure, we need between 100 to 200 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with our modern technology.
Yeah,
because we are not talking about the number only, about the size only, but there is the third factor, which is the most important: precision. It is not just a pile of stones. No, they put every block above the other block in a perfect way. Okay, no mistakes, not even 1 millimeter. So when we talk about the Great Pyramid, we must talk about the surrounding area and the interior of the Great Pyramid. Why? Because these buildings contain the bigger blocks. Like inside the Great Pyramid, in the so-called King Chamber, we have some blocks exceeding 50 ton and 100 ton. 100 ton in the level of 100 meters, okay, and 70 meters high. And what we call it the Valley Temple of the second pyramid. There are some some limestone blocks around 200 ton. That is too much, Chris. 200 ton. The average size or weight of a car is 1 ton. Okay, the regular cars. So imagine 200 cars together in one block. So if I say cranes, if I say big machines, these can be accepted if we talk about a small number of blocks. But when we talk about millions of blocks, so we have one solution. I know this is like very crazy solution, but it is the only logical solution. It is gravity control, nothing else. Again, why I'm saying this? Because again, we talk about what? About precision. Because the mission is not to cut, to transfer, and to put it, and it can come in any angle or in any precision. No, it was put in a very precise angle, in a perfect way, as if it was, the weight was zero or was manageable. So they can push it forward, they can push it back, they can push it right side or left side. They can adjust the location. That happens when the weight is manageable. But when the weight is 200 ton, no, this is hopeless case. And by the way, 200 ton is not the biggest we have. We have 500 ton, 700, 1,000, and 1,200 ton. And by the way, in the modern times, we don't have a tool to carry 1,200 ton as one piece. We don't have this crane yet.
Yeah. Wow. Now, not to get too far off topic, I just want to touch on this for a minute. There's some that speculate that the humans that existed during these time periods might have been larger or taller than we are now. What do you think about that?
I agree with this opinion, but I need to say exactly what I believe. I believe that a long time ago, okay, not during the dynasties or even 1 million BC. I think in the very deep history of mankind, like 3-4 million years ago. Okay, human were giants, and that matches the idea of gravity and all the environmental changes. Okay, we get shorter because of different environments. Okay, and by the way, we get shorter, we get faster, we live shorter ages. The people a long time ago used to live hundreds of years. Okay, our time is running faster. The speed maybe of Earth is different. So everything. So I don't think that the solution to say how they build these buildings because they were giants. No.
Right.
Because I just told you, we found skeletons 55,000 BC. And it was for a boy 8 years old, and it is the same size like our modern 8 years old boys. Okay. But yes, the idea itself is accepted, but I'm talking about a long time ago, like 4 or 3 million BC.
Excellent. Now, you also write about the different names of Egypt that may have been in the past. Could you tell us a little bit about what you've come up with that?
Yes, the famous or the official name of ancient Egypt is called Kemet. Okay, so many people will hear that word Kemet, and maybe they can read about it a little bit, and they will understand that Kemet means the Black Land. But what is the general meaning? How I can find deeper meaning? My book is going to give you better or deeper explanations. That Kemet, which means the Black Land, but the fact is Egypt is not Black Land. 7% of Egypt is Black Land, but 93% of Egypt is yellow land, desert side, yellow and red. Okay, the desert. And by the way, the word Deshret, which is desert, became desert, means the red land. Okay. So in this case, Kemet doesn't mean black land. Kemet here means the fertile land, the land of fertility, the land of great chemicals. Because when we did analysis to the mud, the Nile soil, it contains, we managed to understand that there are more than 62 minerals. These minerals are different types of minerals. Some are precious, like gold, silver. Some are normal, like iron, lead, zinc. Some are radioactive, like iridium and cobalt. Okay. So this is the meaning, the true meaning of the word kemet, which is fertility. And kemet is the origin of the English word chemistry and the Arabic word alchemy, alchemia. Okay. Another name for Egypt called Medjer. Medjer, and I believe the European country Hungary, because Hungary in their local language they call their land Majar, not Hungary like in English. Call it Majar or Magar. Okay, I think it's the same Egyptian name Medjer or Majar means the protected land. Because all the invaders who invaded Egypt through history, it was not easy trip to come to Egypt. Because when you come through the northeast Sinai, huge desert. You come from the west, huge desert. You come from the south, also huge desert. So Egypt is a naturally fortified country. Another name called Edibui. Edibui means the two sides. So I think they meant the east side and the west side. The west side is vast desert, the western desert, full of minerals and full of different types of stones, like the famous oasis with we call it the white desert crystal, the black desert basalt. Okay, the east side is full of precious materials like gold, the mountains of the Red Sea, and especially that part we call it the Nubian land. It contains huge mines of gold, and there is a famous mine called I forget the name now, but it is the third largest mine of gold all over the world. Okay, so you will find that Egypt is one country but many environments. Okay, so this is what I'm explaining in my book. What are the meanings of these names and why the Egyptians called themselves these names? And by the way, they were repeated many times. It was not only in one source or in limited papyrus. No, they were written in so many writings and so many carvings.
Excellent. Now, I want to get into the religion of the pre-dynastics. It's very apparent that they had vast knowledge of the stars, and this was integrated into their spiritual beliefs in different ways. Talk a little bit more about the religion of the pre-dynastics and the different practices and rituals that they may have been utilizing.
Yeah, I always say that the word priest was originally scientist, and the word magic was originally science. The religious rituals and carvings are originally scientific recipes. Okay, how? Amun-Ra, as an example, is the one they call him God Amun, the great God of gods. Okay, when you read about Amun-Ra, you'll figure out that Amun is one of the cycles of the sun. We understand that there are 5 names. These 5 names, we call them the cycles of the sun. Like Ra himself, when you read the name Ra, it is always after that word, God Ra, God of the sun. God. So we have the first one is Kipper, the scarab. This is the sun before sunrise and during sunrise. Then we have Ra, the moon, the sun during the morning. Then we have Atum, the sun during the noon time. Then we have Atun, like Akhenaton, the sun during afternoon. And then Amun, the sun after sunset. So which one is the sun god? None of them. Later, during dynasties, it became religion. But before dynastic Egypt, they were natural forces, natural items of nature. So the Egyptian never or the early Egyptians didn't call them gods. They called them netters or netzers. The word netzer was taken by the Greeks and the Roman. So in Latin language, it became natur, and natur changed in English to nature. Okay, so the word netzer, it doesn't mean God as all the academics explain. No, netzer means nature, power of nature, the power of the sun, the power of the moon, the power of music like Hatur, the power of Sobek, the crocodile, the power of Harvey, the Nile. Okay, so these are all natural powers. So, to understand the function of these temples in a good way, you must understand the meaning of the so-called God. Okay, I'll give you a good example. To go to Hathor temple, okay, what are you going to do there? What are you going to expect? You must understand who is Hathor, because the temple is dedicated to Hathor. If she is just a goddess, you will go and do some rituals and then leave. But if you understand that Hathor is sound, Hathor is resonant, so you will go and stick with certain things, not only to say it, but to say it in a certain way, in a certain time. Because this is how sound works. It is not in any time, not in any tone. Okay, the same like the temple of Amun at Karnak. Okay, it is the temple of the setting sun. So yes, you can visit the temple during the day. This is okay, but the best time is after sunset. Okay, because the activation of the power of the setting sun will happen when after the sunset. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to explain. That the what we call it religion was not actually religion; it was science.
Do you think all of the quote unquote gods that we're familiar with now were just based on celestial bodies, astrological events, and what they've seen in the stars?
Look, I explain also in my book 3 levels of so-called gods.
Okay.
Extraterrestrials like Amun, like Ra, and like Nut, like others who.
Do you think Thoth would fall into that category?
Thoth, I will come to Thoth and Betah. Okay. And then we have terrestrial gods like Horus, like Sobek, like Hathor. Okay, Hathor here is a mix like Sekhmet. Okay, and we have the second level or the third level in between, like they are extraterrestrials, but they go to Earth. Okay, they act on Earth. Like Sekhmet. Sekhmet is the sun heat, okay? But her actions on Earth. Hathor is the daylight of the sun, but also it acts on Earth, okay? We have 2 exceptions in this story. Let's say they can have their own category. Thoth and Betah. They are always there. We cannot put them in classification. We cannot put them in as part of a story. They are separate stories. Each one is a separate story. Thoth and Betah. Okay, so I cannot give you good definition for them because they are beyond any definition, beyond any classification.
So you do think it is possible that at times we were interacting with what may be considered non-human entities or intelligences?
Of course, because as I told you, we deal with the universe, okay? We deal with the solar system and some kind of bigger systems like Orion, like Sirius, and there are so many other things we don't know, okay? Yes, I'm not sure, but I think the ancient Egyptians in many times were talking about bigger environment, so Earth and our even the galaxy was part of it.
You also covered the pre-dynastic theories of creation. Could you talk a little bit about that?
The famous word we hear in many cases called Zeptibi, okay, and Zeptibi means the beginning. And many people, when they hear that, if they don't read about ancient Egypt, they think the beginning of mankind. They think this story will tell them that the first man and then the first woman, they met and they start to give birth. And no, the word Zeptebi, it means the beginning of the universe. And this beginning, they talk about how the skies were created, how the stars, how planets, how air, water, these major powers were created. And then there is another story called, so the first story called the Heliopolis story, the Ennead story, the story of 9 knitters. Another story called the story of Tos, the Ogdad story, 8 knitters. They don't talk about the creation of the universe. They talk about the creation of Zeptebi itself, as if Zeptebi is not the beginning of everything. No, Zeptebi is the beginning of the unmatter who became matter. So they talk about 4 pairs of knitters, 1 male, 1 female. The male is a frog, the female is a cobra. 4 groups, and they are the basic powers of before the universe was created. And then another story called Memphis story. It includes Ptah as the manifest. Ptah, with his wisdom, is the one who designed this creation. And the last, or number 4, is the story of Amun Luxor story using sound. That Amun was part of the creation because of a great scream or great sound. We can explain that the word scream as sound. Okay? So you will find some good details about these theories in my book.
Excellent. Now, what have you uncovered about the ancients' knowledge, advanced knowledge of not only the stars, but the human body, the brain, and different medical concepts? It seems that they were very advanced with this as well.
Yes, when you see how they made carvings for the human body and how they focused on the certain parts like the third eye, the pineal gland, the left eye of Horus, the right eye of Horus, you will clearly understand that these people were not doing just art. No, they studied anatomy in a great way. They understood all the secrets and the details of the human body as body and as energy also. And they understood how this body can survive inside the temple and outside the temple. Because you will find something interesting, that all the carvings and paintings about the ancient Egyptian, that he is almost half naked, right? Of course, this is not the case. They did, so the ancient Egyptians, they didn't walk in the local streets with just a piece of cloth, white cloth, okay? No, they had proper clothes, and they had pants maybe, and they had the long dress galabia. But they represented them in tombs and temples this way, as if they are in certain circumstance, they are receiving the energies of these sites. So they need to have naked upper bodies, shaved head for the priest, okay? And some of the mummies we found, of course, mummification itself is a great evidence and proof that they understood about the human body in a perfect way. They made also some surgeries, and we know that they made brain surgeries. Tutankhamun's skull has a perfect hole at the backside. Maybe that was because of the mummification. Maybe it was a brain surgery. Okay, they had the title dentist. So dentist in ancient days, we know the dentist is using some certain tools to become a dentist, okay? He is not someone is just like taking off the tooth and that's it. No, they had the title dentist and also chief of dentists. So as if there was an academy for students to become dentists. Wow. We found that they made like implants that someone lost, or I think a lady lost her toe, and they made another toe from ebony wood. to make her able to walk stable because it was the big toe.
Yeah.
The kneecap, they supported one of the mummies. We found a long nail inside the kneecap. So that's kind of surgery like what we do nowadays.
Wow.
Okay. So we are talking about great knowledge. Also in dynastic Egypt, as if it was inherited knowledge from the very ancient past of Egypt.
Now, not only did they have this advanced knowledge of the stars, human anatomy, medical concepts, but they had a great sense of the afterlife as well, and kind of guidelines on how to enter and traverse the afterlife.
Of course, and they wrote hundreds of thousands of papyrus. They, if I can call it decoration, but that is not, of course, correct. They created hundreds of tombs, like what we call it, Book of the Dead. By the way, there is nothing called Book of the Dead. It's a combination of many books. Okay, so you won't find one book called Book of the Dead. Now, we have what we call it, Book of the Hours, Book of the Earth, Book of the Gates, Book of the people who are coming forth to daylight. Okay, so they talk, but also to fix this idea, they don't talk about the afterlife itself. No, they talk about the journey to the afterlife, from death to the beginning of afterlife. Okay, as if it is a tunnel or a short journey, but important, very important, and full of unknown things, unknown powers, unknown creatures. Some are friendly, some are not. So that's why they wrote these hundreds of thousands of spells, of ways to protect yourself, to be supported in the afterlife or the journey to the afterlife. And we used to think that these stories were made to the soul after leaving the body, after death. I can tell you now that not necessarily. It can happen to the person while he is still or she still alive. So as the same journey can happen during the lifetime. Okay, like out of body experience and like something, things like this. Okay, but of course 75% of the story mean that the person must die, so this can happen. But I think there are a group of people with certain abilities and brain powers. They can do this in their first life.
There's some that speculated that megaliths like the Great Pyramid were being utilized to trigger sort of out-of-body experiences and spiritual experiences for people. Based on your research, what were the purposes of some of these megaliths, the Great Pyramid, the Sphinx? We'll even get into the obelisk a little. What's your insights into that?
Okay, look, I will not add much to this, but I can tell you that I am writing now my second book. And the name is very exciting. My second book is called Stargates of Ancient Egypt.
All right.
So that will explain much about these sites and how it can be used as stargates or portals. Okay, how it can be activated. Because the title Stargate was found very clear in so many sites. So we are not translating an unknown word. No, it is written in a very clear way. Stargate, no doubt. It reads this way, Stargate. Okay. So I will talk about so many interesting stories about this.
Excellent. I can't wait. Before we move on from this, I just want to get one more of your insights about the Stargates. Do you think it's possible that if we were utilizing something like that, that it could be also used to travel here on our planet just to a different geographic location?
That's why I'm saying we have stargates and we have portals. So the Stargate, no, it between Earth and outside Earth.
Okay.
But the portals can be everything. So the word portal is bigger than Stargate. But the word portal, yes, you can go through and from Saqqara you go to Luxor, or from Saqqara or Luxor or Giza you go to Mexico, or from any of these locations you go to the moon or Mars. So yes.
That's fascinating. Now, something we didn't get to yet is the geography and the different capitals that existed, and this is a very important aspect that I haven't heard many talk about. Could you tell us a little bit about what you've uncovered about the capitals?
Yes. It took me a while to understand why the ancient Egyptians used granite in certain places, why basalt in certain places, in certain places. Okay, so I told myself I need to study the geology of modern Egypt, of course, and ancient Egypt. Okay, remember earlier we were talking about the advanced knowledge of the ancient Egyptians. Yes, that is true because they were great geologists. Okay, they understood the texture of every stone, and that's why they used different stones for different functions. I will give you a very good example about rose granite. Why rose granite was widely used. And by the way, we can say granite, but it will not be correct. We must say rose granite of Aswan. That is the perfect word, because we have rose granite of Sinai. Okay, so any granite, either in Egypt or outside Egypt, contains from 3% to 13% quartz. 3 to 13. Okay, Egyptian granite, Canadian granite, American granite, any European granite, Asian granite, 3 to 13. There is one kind only contains more, the rose granite of Aswan, from 20 to 60%. So this is the largest amount of quartz inside granite. That's why the Egyptians were big fans of using rose granite, although that we have so many from Sinai, but it was very limited use. Okay, so my point that they were great geologists. They understood that this granite contains quartz. So any place they need the abilities of quartz, they use rose granite. Another stone called alabaster. The alabaster is absorbing the daylight during the day and changing this daylight to heat. So when they need to build huge open air buildings, they make the floor from alabaster. So my point is that I needed to study the ancient geology to know these sites were formed when, the mountains of the Red Sea. And on my research, I found that in some places they found ancient bones for elephants, or what we call it, the father of elephant, giraffes and lions. So I understood that one day Egypt was green, not desert like nowadays. Okay, I found that we have in Egypt dinosaurs. We have 4 types of dinosaurs, or 4 kinds of dinosaurs. Okay, but most of books are not talking about this. We have what we call it the Cambrian age and pre-Cambrian age. Okay, so do you know how old we are talking about? We are talking about 2 billion BC.
Oh.
Okay,
Wow.
2 billion BC, Cambrian and pre-Cambrian. So that was, and by the way, it took me a long time to find a good book about the Egyptian geology, until I found an old book written almost in beginning of 1900 AD. Okay. Also, capitals of Egypt, because these capitals are a result of what I can call it religious position. And we agree earlier that religion is not religion, it is science. Like the city of Betah is Memphis, Egypt, not Memphis, Tennessee.
Right.
Okay. Memphis is the place of the temple of Betah. Luxor was one of the capitals. Luxor is the city of Amun. Cairo, by the way, we have a huge part of North Cairo. Now it's called Heliopolis. Okay. the city of the sun belonged to Ra and Atom. This is that part is the main part for all the Greek philosophers who visited Egypt at the 4th century BC and the 3rd century BC. Okay, so it is great to know these capitals and the importance of these capitals.
Is it possible that this civilization was also a seafaring or maritime civilization that had access to very large ships that could traverse the globe? And if so, would they be utilizing that as much as if they had the technology, like you said earlier, for portals where they could just appear somewhere by utilizing this ancient technology of sorts?
Look, this is important. When we see also all the pre-dynastic paintings, carvings, and what we call it cave paintings, you will find a huge big level of ships and boats. Okay, so they are as if they are trying to drag our attention to this point. We are seafaring people. We were moving between continents with ships, and they moved a lot. It was not one time, I think that many times. And we have a cave in the Western Desert called the Cave of the Swimmers. Okay, and some of them, they look like professional swimmers, and they have like the
yes.
Okay, so as if they want us to understand this fact that they were using or they were sailors and they were sailing overseas, and the connection between continents maybe because of that, either immigration during disasters or after disasters, and later it was communication between these nations.
Excellent. Final thing I want to discuss is, how do you see academia handling this information in the future? Do you think that they will come to terms and start accepting or even contemplating the possibility that this information is true based on all of the incredible things that independent researchers like yourself are coming out with that are opposing the traditional academic view that these were, like you said earlier, cavemen or very uncivilized and unintelligent humans that did not even have close to the ability of the things that we discussed? Do you see academia coming around anytime?
Yes, it will happen. It happened in a limited scale a long time ago. When geologists started to interfere in the Egyptian history and they found some things, the team of Egyptologists, including Flinders Petrie, they refused their opinions. And they said, no, these tools are not very ancient, as you claim. Maybe this is kind of cheap materials. But later they accepted the stories after they did their own research and analysis, and they found that it is scientific work, it makes sense, and undeniable. So yes, I think academia in the near future have to accept this, because what we are talking about is science. It's not our own interpretation. So it will be accepted. And also, our modern science is going to be a great support, because if you cannot achieve these things with our modern knowledge, so how come it was achieved by primitive techniques? Yes. Okay, so the scientists also will support these theories and will say, yes, that there were so many advanced techniques were used. So I can say in maybe within 10 years, so many things are going to change in the academic level.
Well, Mohamed, this has been wonderful. I can't wait till the next book comes out. We're going to have you back on to get into that one as well. Before you head out for today, let the audience know how they can find out more about you and pick up the book.
Yeah, they can find my book on Amazon.com. Okay, Egypt Before the Written History, Lost Knowledge of Ancient Egypt. They can find me on my company website, sabatours.com.
Excellent. Mohamed, thank you so much. This was fantastic. We'll definitely do it again soon. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. Hello, friends. I want to tell you about our newest affiliate, BF Genetics. Would you like to grow your very own medicinal mushrooms in the comfort of your own home? BF Genetics is a small family-owned and operated farm in northern Colorado, providing the highest quality mushroom genetics and growing supplies. Everything from substrate, spores, and cultures to all the information you need to educate yourself about medicinal mushrooms. Right now, if you order with coupon code FKN10, you'll get 10% off your entire order. And right now, you can get buy two, get one free spore swaps. To get started today, just use the links right in the description.